All right. In this particular video, we're going to expound on what we've been discussing when it comes to this painting. So we're going to see if we can help everyone understand the origins of this particular dragon. And then we're going to have some underlying conversations on the Bible, if it's true or the way that most have been taught it has been false. Keep watching. Okay, welcome back, of course. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, because what I go over in my research obviously is esoteric and exoteric information in retrospect to how it influences you, and how by being on a more pious lifestyle, how that can help you in your soul journey on obtaining the mysteries of the light in a better way. Also, of course, I've gone ahead and set up the Patreon for you, where I'll be sharing more in-depth information, of course, that I don't necessarily share here, so consider being a member there. All right, let's quickly go ahead and get started with our first resource for this presentation.
For the gene pool and soul group. You know how we talked about Australia as having a potential role as the crest of the wave of spirituality from the legend of the golden dolphin circling the planet? So the refusion of the soul group could happen here. So Australia gets a little sense of soul purpose. It creates a bit of national identity. Well, now we have the planet. And the planet imagined itself to be an orphan, in that we imagined that the DNA on Earth came from Earth. That was a mistake. Clearly it did not. Some evidence that the DNA on Earth did not come from here include, if you take the Sumerian alphabet, the Sumerian glyph structure, and you shine lasers through them, you fabricate subcellular structures in biophysics. The Sumerian elixirs of the MD microscopist George Merkel in Texas. So clearly the Sumerian alphabet is an optical waveguide system for creating cellular metabolism. Lots of evidence. Sumerian elixirs. Evidence B. The Hebrew alphabet is the tilt angles of a magnetic domain referenced by the symmetry of the tetrahedron in order to tilt DNA codons into a tetrahelix they call a golem. So the Hebrew alphabet was a software environment for interventionist genetic engineers. Okay? So these are two examples of the origins of language on this planet being specifically evidence that the origin of culture on this planet was in fact interventionist genetic engineering. Now, in fact, the major issue of our soul group today is the fact that our DNA is getting dizzy because our genetic engineers do not understand how to make a soul. This is a problem. So here we are, Groundhog Day. You know, it's like all coming back on us again. Our ancestors hacked up DNA, and that fractionation of their soul group, we're the result of their dream, right? And now we're repeating their mistake. So history condemns those who do not understand history are condemned to repeat it. So here we are. We must understand the extraterrestrial origins of the DNA here and what the yearning was. And that's what this story is about. Okay. Once upon a time, there were two families of angels. We'll call them the Ophanim and the Seraphim. They said that they chose 1,254 star systems to cast a cat's cradle shadow of themselves in their image and likeness here. The physics of astrology is that the angular arrival of a capacitance wave is how you measure gravity. And so, in fact, the self-similarity of the solar system with respect to the array of those stars created literally a body in their image and likeness. A practical way to measure that is the self-similarity of the Earth's electrical field, which made more gold here than most planets, because gold only happens where ley lines cross in a fractal, and it made the DNA able to become self-aware here more quickly. The more fractal you are, the more able you're able to unpack awareness. So the solar system had a lot of value according to real estate: location, location, and location. We was fractal. Well, what happened was the Andromedans said, well, why did you deposit those interventionist Alpha Draconis Dracos in our galactic sector since they were so much trouble? And the answer was, the Ophanim and the Seraphim angels had a conversation about designing a gene pool that could be the solution to the angelic dilemma, which was how to fabricate star births with higher leverage, which is angel birth, and literally how to create a level of psychokinesis, literally power, that hasn't existed in gene pools before. And they did this, what they did is they selected a galaxy a long way from downtown and inserted a gene pool which was able to have enough survival urge to be able to make it in such a hostile environment. And that's the group that went to Alpha Draconis. And the group who said they put them there were called the Pataal, P-A-A-T-A-A-L, from which comes our word Ptah, P-T-A-H, and pterodactyl. Okay? And the Pataal were said to be 11th dimensional beings, and you can think of them as bird tribe. And I believe that that story is related.
Okay, so here, of course, when we think of the bird tribe, obviously we have this image here of a dialogue that we were going over. And then I was also pointing out to you that if you look closely here in this particular illustration, this particular illustration is actually showing you something that actually looks like a dialogue here. It kind of has a representation of something to that effect, obviously. And then when we look at this particular illustration, we see something is going on here. So when he's going into the Ophanim and the Seraphim, then it gets very interesting when we start talking about the crossing of various different bloodlines. All right.
That the continuous blackboard here, the continuous family of these gene pools was later described. You have the Ophanim is the Christian word. You have the bird tribe is the Iroquois word. And you have the Adawi is the Cherokee word. And you have the Valnapa, which is the Adnyamatna native Australians word, return of the bird tribes, which are the winged ones.
To understand, of course, is that there's going to be people in your life that are going to help you do good or they're going to help you do bad. All right. And when you realize that you're an eagle and you have wings, you get what I'm saying? The siaka, the winged ones, when you realize that you have that divine essence within you.
And then over on this side, you have the seraphim. And the seraphim eventually became the lineage of Mag. And the seraphim became the Uru. The Uru part of what was later called...
This is really interesting when we start talking about the Uru. So I don't know if any of you remember this particular video that I did, the O meditation. Check this out.
Universal Lord, oh, best among the Kuru warriors.
Notice there how it's saying the Kuru warriors. Okay, did you see that? All right.
Nibi Uru. Right, Aru, exactly. Uru means dragon or snake or serpent.
Okay, so don't forget about this illustration here. All right, and don't forget about this illustration over here. Okay.
Okay, and these, the bird tribe, were called Ebi, from Ibis and Iberia, and Geul, which was bird tribe. And when you do the crossing over of these two bloodlines, you get Ebi Uru, which becomes the word Nibiru and Hebrew. And if you ask a Hebrew rabbi, he will tell you that the word Hebrew means crossing over. Okay, and in fact, on the Uru side, you had a well-developed reptilian brain stem, which was very juicy and useful. Okay? And on the IB side, you had a dog or bird-shaped brain, the dog-bird brain, from which comes our word Dogon and Daganavida. the Gana Viva.
All right, so don't forget about in the illustration when we were talking about dialong, how it promotes neuron regeneration, because there's a particular substance, obviously, that gets produced. I did do a video where I was talking about how certain ones have the ability to make their glands bliss, and it produces a particular substance there that obviously has become very attractive to those who have set up organizations to try to keep the foot on the tail to prevent something from rising. And we went over that when we were dealing with this particular swan with the foot on the fish, and we noticed that that substance is an oil that has that kind of smell to it, and that's what we were going over in the previous videos, how there's this particular setup here that's going on. So let's go ahead and get back to this.
Okay, and this becomes the dog bird, and the group that was the characteristic of the dog bird brain is called Wealawa, and you can read about them at wealawa.com actually. And the story was that the Orion Queen Mog seraphims had won a high percentage of the inhabitable planetoids in the Orion sector, but a truce was called when they realized the dog bird brains, the Wealawa, would accept in marriage an Orion Queen matriarchal telepathic Mog in marriage with each king on a planetoid of the dog bird. This is very ancient galactic history as told by Robert Morning Sky Hopi in the book Guardians of the Grail. So, but this becomes remnant in later history when the Syrian blood behind Jesus Tutankhamun accepts in marriage the dynastic union with the Mag blood, which was said to be the royal families of the Essenes, but the royal family of the Essenes is actually Egyptian, and it's important to know.
Okay,
but that's getting
so
ahead.
then, of course, we have this illustration here. Let's read this real quick. It says, although the Egyptian arithmetical system was not sexagesimal, they adopted the Sumerian, Sumerian system. And then we see here that, we're dealing with the rising of the star Sirius. So when he's talking about dog, he's using the term dog in there. So then when you do your research on like dog star or any of this other kind of stuff, you'll see that Sirius seems to be the focal point of all of that. And you see how this is something that really started in Sumerian in terms of this particular observance, and then it went on into Egypt, and then it went on into Mesoamerica, as you can see there. And then to kind of understand how something was moving like that, in certain texts it talks about how there was an issue between, say, Ningishida and Marduk, obviously, and then to create peace, one took their followers somewhere, and then based on certain studies, it looks like the America was where that was taken. So it looks like a lot of those particular observances and stuff was carried on because of that migration there. But then we have another illustration here. This is from Ladder of Lights. That's also dealing with Sirius here. How it talks about how the wisdom of Hakma is removed from us by a greater gulf than that which divides our world from, say, Sirius. And then you're kind of getting into these particular heavens. Remember how we were talking about how there's the heavens of the material worlds, the heavens of the semi-divine spheres, and the heavens of the divine spheres. And then this just really gets really interesting when you really look at it, okay? So I did do a video here where I was talking about the actual ancestry of Adam here, and then how these particular people, or whatever you want to use there, was mentioned in terms of how that was put together. But what I would like for, the reason why I'm pulling this information out, and it gets really interesting, let me share one more thing with you here. God, I want to read a passage here that was tucked away on the last page of the book. And then it says here, if I can find it here, let me see if I can find it. I might not have it saved, but let's see.
Okay, so this is on the last page. Obviously, there's a lot of resources and sources and stuff for where they receive their information. But this is basically the last paragraph here of this book. It says, in spite of their philosophical prolixity, the Platonizing Sethian apocalypses furnish an invaluable glimpse into the cultural traditions and dynamics out of which Judaism, Christianity, and Manichaeism were formed. Under the ages of Plato, the last Hellenes defined themselves against these same traditions, and thus against the God of Abraham, soon also to be the God of Muhammad. Right? You won't learn that in the Christian church or in your...
So that is very, very interesting. So we have this illustration here, of course, where it talks about someone being, it says, and your Lord, oh, okay, your Lord, oh, so don't forget about this here.
Winner of wealth. Oh, my dear.
Okay, so we have, it says, and your Lord, oh, right? And then it says, is the Lord of Sirius. Okay, now some of you might be saying, well, the word Muhammad is next there. So then when I went ahead and looked up what that meant, it says that that name actually just means praiseworthy. So then when you see "oh" here, it's just saying, "Oh, praiseworthy is the Lord of Sirius." Okay, is the Lord of Sirius. And notice how in that video that I shared with you, and I'll leave it underneath the like button in the description area, how it was basically letting you know that the God of Abraham was soon to be also the so-called God of Muhammad. So what we're really dealing with is an ancestry that obviously the translators and so forth decided to make certain things no more in remembrance. And it kind of makes sense when you have an illustration like this, and then you have all of these key terms here. You have something that looks dragon-like, something that looks bird-like, with the foot on the fish there. So that kind of goes with what this guy was talking about when he was getting into the information he was saying. So it's very interesting when it says that they have lifted up the head there and have taken crafty counsel against the people and so forth. So what I wanted to do was just quickly put this together. I'll leave all these resources for you so you can watch full videos and get into this more on your own there. But I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit more information to look into when we start, because a lot of people I'm noticing are kind of, it looks like they're trying to disavow the Bible. Now I'm seeing obviously that the way that it's been taught by the civilization of deception as represented in this photo has been to lead you in the wrong direction. But when you actually go into the pages and you precept it with other information in spirit and in truth, then in order to extract truth from it, you have to actually bring truth to it, if that actually makes sense. So the information is actually there. You just have to be willing to actually study and be obviously approaching it properly so you can actually see what is actually being said to you there. So the reason why I wanted to put together this video was to show you the extraterrestrial origins of so-called DNA, and give you a little bit of a table to look at and reference to in your studies. And then I'll also provide information for you to assist you with that. And then I'll do another video where I'll go into more detail of piecing this information together. I just wanted to at least present it to you in a more digestible way at first, so whenever we expound on it a little bit later, then hopefully you'll be at a better position to receive that information. Okay? If you have any questions or comments about this video, go ahead and leave it underneath the like button, and I'll see you in the next one.